Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the invisible filters our brains use to make sense of the world. Filters that don't just shape what you see, but could be the secret cause behind pretty much every argument or misunderstanding you've ever had.
So let's start with a feeling I'm sure we've all had. You're in a conversation, maybe it's getting a little heated, you're both making what seem like valid points, but you're just not connecting at all. It's that super frustrating moment when you realize you're basically operating in two different realities. Well, it turns out, you actually are.
This brings us to a really powerful idea from neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, and the core principle is this: we don't experience the world directly. Not at all. Instead, every single one of us creates an internal map of reality. And here's the crucial part: we respond to our map, not to the actual world itself.
And to give you an idea of how much that map can be colored, get this. Some studies show that up to 80% of an average person's daily thoughts can be negative. Just think about that for a second. Imagine how that constant inner voice is shaping the version of reality you experience every single day. So how in the world does our brain build this personal map? Well, let's take a look at the filtering system it uses to take this absolute flood of information from the outside world and turn it into your own unique reality. The most important thing to get is that our minds aren't just passively recording everything like a video camera. They can't. There's just way too much data coming at us every second. Instead, your brain is an active editor. It's constantly cutting, pasting, and reframing all this information to create a coherent story that we can actually handle. And this powerful editing process, it happens through three universal mental filters that every single one of us shares. They are deletion, distortion, and generalization. These are the fundamental tools your brain uses to build your map of the world. So to really get a grip on how we communicate, and maybe more importantly, how we miscommunicate, we need to understand exactly how each of these three filters works.
Okay, first up is deletion. This is basically the process of leaving things out. Our brain just selectively pays attention to what it thinks is important in the moment, and it ignores everything else.
And we need this. It's a vital survival tool. I mean, if you tried to consciously process every single sight, sound, and sensation around you right now, your brain would just crash. You'd be totally overwhelmed. So deletion allows us to focus, but the downside is it also creates huge blind spots in our experience. Next, we have distortion. Now, this filter doesn't just leave information out, it actually twists it, embellishes it, or changes the meaning of the sensory data that we're taking in. The perfect example of this is seeing a coiled-up piece of rope on a path, and for a split second, you know it's a snake. You jump back, your heart races, and then you realize what it is. For that one moment, your brain distorted reality to protect you. It just shows how fast our minds can change what we see based on our beliefs and fears. And finally, there's generalization. So our conscious mind can only really handle about 7 pieces of information at once. To keep from getting overloaded, our brains take a shortcut. They'll take 1 or 2 experiences and create a broad universal rule from them. For instance, if you have one really bad experience with a taxi driver, your brain might create a simple rule: all taxi drivers are cheaters. Now, on one hand, this is how we learn, by applying specific lessons more broadly. But it's also, as you can probably guess, the very root of harmful stereotypes and those limiting beliefs we have about ourselves. So here's the crucial point. These filters aren't good or bad. They're just mental tools. Deletion is what gives us focus, distortion is the engine of creativity and our imagination, and generalization is the foundation of how we learn anything. But on the flip side, they can absolutely trap us in misunderstanding, anxiety, and all sorts of self-imposed limits. So why is understanding this mental software so incredibly important? Because it doesn't just stay inside our heads. It has a massive, real-world impact on our relationships, our careers, and even our own sense of what's possible. You know, when we're completely unaware of our own filters, and everyone else's, we just get stuck. We fill in the gaps of what people say with our own negative assumptions, and that leads to conflict. We misinterpret their intentions, we hold ourselves back with beliefs like, I can't do that, and we fail to build real, solid trust. But here's the good news. This is the payoff. Once you become aware of these filters, you can start to navigate communication in a whole new way. You can learn to look beyond your own map to get a little glimpse of someone else's territory. This awareness is the foundation of some really powerful communication tools. It's about learning to read someone else's map. So when you hear a really vague statement, you know that's a deletion. You can ask questions to fill in the gaps. When you hear a big leap of logic, that's a distortion. You can gently ask, how do you know that's true? And when you hear big absolute words like always or never, you've found a generalization. Challenge it. Ask, always? Everyone? These simple questions help you get much closer to reality, not just their version of it.
The result of this approach is just powerful. By understanding how we all filter reality, you can't help but build deeper rapport. You cut through misunderstandings and you communicate with way more empathy. Ultimately, it's about being less reactive to what's happening around you and gaining more control over your own internal experience.
So here's the thought I want to leave you with today. The next time you find yourself in a difficult conversation, just pause and ask yourself a question. What part of their map am I not seeing? And maybe more importantly, what part of my own map might be getting in the way right now? Because understanding that difference is the very first step to truly connecting with someone.